There are places where the earth does not whisper but hums, low and endless. Beneath the thin crust we dare to call familiar. Places not marked on maps, not mentioned in polite conversation. Places where the world folds inward on itself, and reality becomes uncertain. Off the eastern coast of Japan, beyond the reach of ordinary tides, there lies a sea so still that those who know it only speak its name in hushed tones. They call it the Devil's Sea, a stretch of ocean that does not rage, but remembers, where compasses spin, as if trying to escape the pull of unseen hands, where the sky dims, suffocating weight that presses down without warning. Long before modern ships carved their wakes across these waters, long before satellites traced the contours of the globe, the fishermen of Japan told stories of strange lights rising from beneath the waves, of islands that appeared like promises and disappeared like smoke, of voices on the wind calling out in languages no man could understand. And always, always, the warnings: do not stray too far. Do not follow the stillness. In 1952, the research vessel Kaijo Maru No. 5, laden with scientists and sailors driven by the hunger for understanding, ventured into the heart of this silent expanse. They sought to study undersea volcanoes, to map the unseen world beneath the waves, confident in their instruments, in their training, in their certainty that knowledge could tame the unknown. They sailed into the mist and vanished as if they had never been. No distress calls, no wreckage, no clues, only an absence, vast and final. The kind that seeps into the bones of those left behind. Search missions combed the waters, and still, the Devil's Sea gave nothing back. Not a shred of wood, not a scrap of metal. Scientists, desperate for explanations, blamed sudden volcanic eruptions, rogue waves, rising from nowhere. Pockets of methane gas erupting from the seafloor and dragging ships down in an instant. And perhaps some of this is true. Perhaps the earth does sometimes shift its skin in violent spasms. But those who listen closely know better. They know that the Devil's Sea is more than geology, more than water and gas and shifting plates. It is memory, inevitable pull of the forgotten reaching up from the deep. Witnesses have spoken of islands that breathe, that pulse with a life of their own, appearing under clear skies and vanishing before a second glance, of fogs that roll in so thick that sight itself seems to drown, of compasses spinning until they snap, of radios falling silent, not with static. Some pilots flying over the region reported instruments going mad, altimeters spinning, artificial horizons tilting without cause. Others spoke of time itself, unraveling, of journeys that should have taken minutes, stretching into hours, of finding themselves hundreds of kilometers off course, with no memory of how they got there. Some returned, shaken and hollow-eyed, unwilling to speak of what they saw, simply did not return at all. It is tempting, so tempting, to explain it all away, to say it is volcanoes or magnetic fields. It is tempting because to believe otherwise is to admit that there are places where the rules we cling to fail us, where the universe does not behave as we expect, but as it chooses, and in those places, we are nothing more than leaves on a silent current. Perhaps the Devil's Sea is not a place at all, but a memory. The Earth's own recollection of an age before men drew borders on water. Perhaps it is a scar, a seam in the fabric of reality where things bleed through. Or perhaps it is simply a reminder that for all our satellites, our sonar, our maps and our machines, we are still, at our core, frail beings adrift in a vast and indifferent unknown. Those who have sailed the Devil's Sea and returned do not speak of monsters. There are no serpents thrashing in the deep, no wings blackening the skies. What they speak of is silent, a silence so profound it presses against the skin, against the mind, a silence that remembers. And in that remembering, it takes something from you, something you do not even know you have lost, until long after you have left its waters. In that place, the ocean is not merely water and salt and current, it is memory made flesh. And if you listen closely enough, you can hear it. A low, endless hum. Not calling to you, not warning you. Simply existing. Maybe that is the true terror of the Devil's Sea Knot, that it hungers, not that it hates, but that it remembers. It remembers the ships that vanished. It remembers the names lost to the fog. It remembers the moments when time frayed and meaning unraveled. And if you are quiet, if you dare to drift too close, maybe it will remember you too. And if this journey into the forgotten corners of our world stirs something in you, if you feel the breath of the ancient and the unknown brushing against your thoughts, the Devil's Sea remains, silent, waiting, remembering. Beyond the silence, beyond the slow drift of forgotten currents. The Devil's Sea guards layers of history so deep that even the oldest tailies cannot reach them. Every wave that laps against a forgotten hull, every eddy that swallows a last, desperate flare, adds another thread to its invisible tapestry. The sailors who once crossed these waters with trembling hands believed they could bargain with the sea, offering prayers, offerings, bits of themselves, small sacrifices to the vastness. And remembers, takes and remembers, until the line between myth and truth fades into the gray mist. There are records, dusty and half-forgotten, of fleets lost without cause, of navigators who plotted perfect courses and still vanished into places that should have been empty ocean. Reports of sudden vortexes tearing the surface into spirals of foam, of skies that seemed to fracture and weep shards of silent light, strange patterns flickering across the water like memories of a different world bleeding through. Skeptics write of anomalies, magnetic disturbances, uncharted currents strong enough to drag a vessel hundreds of miles off course. But explanations fray at the edges. When faced with the sheer consistency of the stories that survive in the creak of old wood and the rustle of worn sails, stories too stubborn to die. The Devil's Sea does not shout its mysteries. It whispers them through the slow tilt of the horizon, through the sudden, bone-deep chill that comes, through the feeling that you are being watched not by eyes, but by memory itself. To venture here is to sail into the oldest parts of the world, to leave behind the thin shell of certainty and drift into a place where the earth remembers what it was before we named it, before we divided it, before we dared to think we owned it. Even today, with all our technologies humming and blinking, with radars sweeping the empty skies, with GPS satellites arching across the stars, sea shrugs them off like autumn leaves. Your signals, vanish compasses, turn traitor, and the solid comfort of coordinates dissolves into a breath, a hum, a whisper. Maybe the Devil's Sea is not cursed, but sacred a boundary. We were never meant to cross an untouched corner of the earth, where the deep laws still hold sway, where the dreams of long-lost civilizations, the songs of ancient waters, and the unspoken warnings of the planet itself, vast, too heavy, too alive to be measured. If you sail these waters, understand that you are not entering danger as much as you are stepping into memory. The memory of all the ships that ever dared, of all the voices that ever called out into the mist, and were answered only by silence. Here, every ripple could be the ghost of an oar, every sigh of wind, the echo of a lost cry. Here, the past is not past. Perhaps that is why so many who entered the Devil's Sea disappeared without struggle, without trace. Because here, resistance is meaningless, and the sea does not conquer you it. And maybe that is the truest fear we feel when we speak of this place. Not the fear of being lost, but the fear of being remembered by something greater than ourselves. Remembered and held in a silence so complete, so eternal, that even memory itself ceases to matter. The Devil's Sea remains, waiting, breathing, and with tiny sparks of certainty flickering in the endless dark sail closer. Drawn not by courage, not by understanding, but by that deep, unspoken pull toward the places the maps will never tame. If you have felt that pull, if the sea stirs something ancient within you, then like this journey, subscribe to continue sailing deeper with us. into the mysteries that wait, beyond sight, beyond knowing. Because the Devil's Sea is not finished with us yet, is only beginning.